What's my drink, Holt? Hello, Mother, and welcome to Buzzin Cousins, a show where we judge each other and ourselves based on the movies we like and the music we listen to. I'm Dennis.
And I'm Holt, and today we're going to talk about Star Wars.
Star Wars. It's a long thing that happened in a thing. There were people that did a thing. Mostly no one gives a fuck about the thing, but everyone gives a fuck about the thing. There's never been a thing, but only the things. Did you hear about that one thing? Princess Leia's gonna be in the new one. How's that possible? That bitch is dead. I don't even know. Anyway, Boba Fett's responsible for all of it. Spoiler alert. I just felt like the internet wasn't talking enough. No one, really. When was the last time you heard anyone say word one?
78, I think.
78.
BC.
In keeping with the thing we always do, because we've always done the show always, we've decided to pair this topic, Star Wars, with a beverage for one another.
I think you should go first.
I'm happy to go first.
Okay.
A glass of Oklahoma tap water. A bottle of Sky vodka that has been in my freezer since before Christmas, but that I pulled out 2 days ago in anticipation for this event, so that it would be slightly above room temperature. It's Luke Sky water.
Whoa.
However, I knew that would be gross to drink. So,
thank you.
I saw this at the store today. It's Red Bull Blue.
Cool.
It's blueberry Red Bull. What is that? Oh, that's Blue Sky vodka. Blue Sky vodka. Blue Sky vodka.
Oh, blue.
Sky vodka.
There is another blue sky water. Like the lightsaber. I got you the Prairie Phantasmagoria Double IPA. And yes, you heard me right. Phantasmagoria. Prairie is a local brewery.
Right.
Here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is doing really well. Their beers are selling like hotcakes. Like, I don't even think it's all across the country. I think it's all across the globe right now. For me, a lot of the appeal is right here. It's on the label. And I kind of think that's what got them going. I think their labels are like really appealing. There's usually a lot of good artwork on the label. Probably throw some artwork up to show you guys.
Throw it up right there.
So it's all about marketing. And
Because
Star Wars
I'm loving this, you guys.
All about marketing. What is the Spaceballs? Merchandising. Anyway, so I and also on a very nostalgic level that, you know, only Tulsa people / Dennis and I could share is there used to be an amusement park in Tulsa called Bells. And within Bells...
Not Bills.
Did I say Bills?
No.
Okay. You piece of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Within Bells, there was a ride called the Phantasmagoria. And it was this like little roller coaster / haunted house ride.
Nailed it.
That was awesome. It is... In fact, maybe we could link to the little animated... There's this flash animation on YouTube.
Check the description.
Flash animation of Phantasmagoria on YouTube. It was just... It was something that, as a very young kid, is like so perfectly solid in my mind. Which is another awesome connection to Star Wars. Because, like... The original 3 Star Wars are so important to me, and like watching them as a young kid, it changed the way I looked at things, and so did the Phantasmagoria. So that's my.
You really went the extra mile with your pairings.
Yeah, I know, it's sad.
No,
I'm crying a little bit.
No, it's impressive. Like mine's just a thing that sort of vaguely sounds like a thing.
Yeah,
and yours is like, here's my childhood, and it's gone. Star Wars. I kind of want, for my part, only speaking for myself, I kind of want this conversation to be about the cultural impact of Star Wars. I don't necessarily want to talk about... I feel like everything else has been done to death. I mean, it's all been done to death. Even what we're going to say has been done to death. But I don't necessarily want to talk about whether or not Jedi is good. It isn't. Or, what the best ones are, or what the worst ones are, or... specific scenes, or the fact that the prequels are all the political intrigue and all the sort of ins and outs that are sort of like mind-boggling and frustrating. I don't really even want to talk about the movies.
Yeah.
Or even George Lucas. I just want to talk about where we are as a society in the context of these movies.
I'm sure we'll get to this, but when I was pretty young when the prequels came out. By that I mean like 6th grade, I think.
Yeah, you were a tween.
Yeah. And I was, oh my God, I was so obsessed with Star Wars when those came out.
Really?
Like, oh, Jesus Christ. It was like sad. That was when I was, because they brought, shortly before there was any announcement of George Lucas redoing the original 3.
Which was shortly before the prequels were announced.
I was obsessed with Star Wars. At that point, I was literally, and this is not an exaggeration, I was averaging a Star Wars film a day.
Really?
Yeah, like, even if I went to school, I would watch, like, half of Jedi. I was, when I was a kid, Return of the Jedi was my jam. And it's still, I really love that movie. But I'm also, like, now in my older age, I really appreciate Empire Strikes Back. So I was literally for like, I would say a year of my life, I'd watch a Star Wars movie a day.
Yeah.
That being said, the prequels came out. They were, to me, even as like a 6th grader, they just I did not connect with them at all.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't. I think I probably bought some, like I was really into collecting toys.
1999, when The Phantom Menace was announced, I, like everybody, was stoked.
Yeah.
That there were going to be new Star Wars. And then the trailer came out, and immediately, and I'm not smarter than anyone, I'm not anything, but I knew, like, this is not a thing to sit in a lawn chair for 27 hours to get tickets for. Like, this...
Twice.
This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And I avoided seeing Phantom Menace in the theater until almost the end of its first run. I did not see Attack of the Clones in the theater at all. And as a result, like, seeing Revenge of the Sith in the theater was like the backest of back burners. The backest conceivable burner.
Yeah.
And maybe because expectations were so low, I went and was like, oh, I get it. Which is dumb in retrospect, because it's not a good movie. But just, and we've talked about this before on the show, like, it's a sort of like, by comparison, the other prequels were so bad that anything even approaching competent seemed like...
This is good within this realm of shit.
Yeah, and it was, at the time it was, and I, having decried the existence of the Phantom Menace, I ignored Attack of the Clones. Like, it just came and went, and I didn't even bother with it. Like, even giving it a second's thought. To have gone from that spot to have seen, like, a movie approaching competence in Revenge of the Sith was pretty exciting, considering the fact that I still consider myself a Star Wars fan. But really, where I really wanted to get with all of this is that when we decided that this was going to be a topic for our show, I told myself, I still have not seen Rogue One. As of now. I hadn't avoided Rogue One. I haven't avoided any of them. But I just didn't care. I didn't care to see...
Episode 7.
Yeah, what's it called?
Shit.
Yeah, it's called... That is what it's called.
No.
A New whatever?
No.
No. The Dawn of whatever? The beginning of the last? The start of the end? The thing of the thing?
A New Hope. Point 2.
A New Hope 11?
Fuck, what is that called?
It's called... Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. That movie was great.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it. I didn't want to see The Force Awakens. I did not want to see it. I just didn't care. And then it came around that, like, okay, it's around. And I watched it. And I was like, okay, I saw it. It's fine. If the same thing had happened with Rogue One, if I didn't have to lift a fucking finger, I would have seen it. And I thought for this episode of this show with you, it would be wise for me to at least be up to speed on the most recent movie. And I was about to watch it, and I was about to rent it, and I was about to look at it, and I realized that the point of what we're supposed to be talking about right now is that I don't want to. And it's not even like that like super punk rock, like I'm too cool for whatever. Like I genuinely don't care. Like I don't care what happens in that movie. In fact, I know what happens in that movie. And it's fine. It can be it. I'm not sad that it exists. I don't want to rail against it. I just don't fucking care. And that's maybe the saddest thing of all.
Okay, so I'm going to have to unpack a little bit here. But I just want to say, I think it's important to note, any Star Wars movie that has come out since I've been alive, I've aggressively gotten tickets to. I've seen it midnight, the night it's come out, all that shit. So all three of the prequels, which I didn't like, I remember I slept through most of Attack of the Clones, and I don't think I've ever revisited it once.
The movie is garbage.
I was like laid up on the couch, and that movie was on cable TV, and I watched it for like 10 minutes and was like, oh my God. They were like, I think it was like Anakin, whoever played him,
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen was like wrestling Natalie Portman in a field. Like it was a scene that was just like, how is this Star Wars? But yeah, I mean, Rogue One, Episode 7, as soon as Last Jedi tickets go on sale, I'm getting them for midnight. Like, I can't fucking wait. I can't get enough of Star Wars. I know that some of it's really bad, and I love it. And I think that's why we're here talking about this. I can't get enough of it. There's this thing that we've seen lately with superhero that's just blown up. You know, you have like fucking...
blown up? We're going on like the 15th year now.
Right, yeah.
Like, this is the thing that is the thing.
The explosion is exploding, and it's exploding for another time. So I think what I've said from day one, when Disney signed the contract, I was like, okay, if we're about to do the comic book thing with Star Wars, bring it on. Because it's a universe that I care a lot more about. Did that not make sense?
No. I just want to argue with you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just hang tight. I want to see fucking space. Like, I will go watch Space Wars, even if they're not that good. Way more than I'll watch, like...
Tell me when I can talk.
I don't know, man. Something that I grabbed onto at the end of your spiel was that you know the story of Rogue One. Which is... I mean, it's hard to argue with you there. It's like, they got the plans to destroy the Death Star.
Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. No. And that's a funny thing, man. Like, I'm not saying it bad or good. I'm just saying, like, that line alone is just like, let's make a movie about it. Which means we are in for some shit. Like, I feel like they're going to be like, oh, remember when Luke Skywalker was like, no!
Yeah. No. In 6 years, they'll be showing him going to Tashi Station to buy power converters.
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
They're saying they're going to abandon any current canon material for future spin-off Star Wars movies, like, soon. Like, within the next couple of spin-off movies, it's not going to have anything to do with anyone you know.
Jesus. Cool. Wait, so what's next? Han Solo?
Yeah.
My point is, if we're going to do this, let's do it with Star Wars.
Why are we going to do this? What don't you know about Han Solo? What don't you know about any of it?
I don't know how Danny Glover's going to play him.
Danny Glover?
Yeah.
Is Danny Glover in the Star Wars movies?
No, the new Danny Glover. Childish Gambino.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
I don't want to engage in an argument with someone who loves Star Wars that they shouldn't love Star Wars. I don't.
No, I know.
I want for those people to understand that, like, for those of us who are over it, it's not just because we're too cool for school, although that's probably part of it. It's mostly because we feel like the story got told. We feel like the book is closed. And the more you add, the less mystery there is. I mean, the more information we have, the less exciting it is. And so I kind of don't want to know about Childish Gambino. I feel like I'm not just talking bullshit, and I'm excited about the fact that I'm not just talking bullshit for once in my life. What's exciting about Han Solo is what you don't know about him. Yeah. That's what makes him intriguing. What's exciting about what happened when those Rogue One fuckers got the plans is what you don't know about it. That's what makes it interesting. Right. And especially the fact that there's no avoiding that at this stage of all of our lives, not in the real world, outside of the movies, in your reality and my reality, in the real world, it's impossible to deny that any Star Wars movie made after 1985 is a retcon. It is a movie that over-explains a thing that we didn't need explaining, and that in a lot of ways, like, maybe even takes the magic out, like, sucks the magic from a thing that might have had some mystery and intrigue before. Mark my words, bro. Like, not to get super nerdy about it, but name a 21st century video game franchise that isn't some old hacky shit at this point. And it's because too much of a good thing is not a good fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... The original three will always... It's like... Video games is a good example. It's like, why are people buying the Nintendo Switch? Why are people buying the Nintendo Switch? Why did you just buy a fucking Wii U?
For Zelda Breath of the Wild?
Because?
Because people love Zelda.
But...
You tell me why. You've clearly got something on deck.
It's the nostalgia factor. It's
right.
the fact, like...
Yes, of course.
It's the fact that... I think you and I live in two different worlds with Star Wars.
I agree.
Like, I hang on to this, like, magic that those original three... And because of that, I feel like almost a debt to, like, pay off to Star Wars. And I know it's fucked up. Like, there's some really shady things that went on with Star Wars. And what George Lucas did with the original movies that people fucking loved. And I think the biggest question that, like, really struck a chord with me is, like, what do you owe to your fans? And he decided that he owed nothing to his fans. With the narrative of his movies, like, people fell in love with this shit, and he chose to ignore that by, like, aggressively rewriting or reiterating on these movies, and almost, like, trying to hide. He almost tries to hide the original three.
I agree. I can't speak to your experience, but I think that my experience is, like, it hinges upon a cosmic accident of my birth, of the time of my birth.
Right.
I was 17, 18 when the first Matrix trailer ran, and the very end of that trailer just was a black screen with green text that said www.whatisthematrix.com. And not only was the trailer mind-boggling and proposed, like, and it incepted the question in your brain, what the fuck am I seeing? But the internet was a new thing.
Right.
And that 1-2 punch of, like, what is this thing that I've never seen before? Followed by the TV telling me, what is this thing you've never seen before? Fed into, like, this insane surge of wow, this is new and different. And as a result, I saw that movie 7 times in the theater. And I still love it.
Yeah.
And both sequels are trash. And they disappointed. And they broke the hearts of young people, and maybe old people, I don't fucking know, but definitely broke the hearts of impressionable young people who were new to such ideas. And having cut my teeth in a world of media like that, where the landscape was changing so vastly so quickly, I just think I'm more in a spot to be dismissive of something that tugs at heartstrings and appeals to nostalgia, but yields nothing.
Yeah.
To a fault. Like
right. You and I have talked about Star Wars several times.
Yeah.
I've never heard you use this Matrix reference.
Yeah.
And it's a really good one.
Well, you only made me think of it because you were talking about your perspective. Like,
right.
Because you and I both, though, there are people even younger than you, but who are adults. Like, I know. But, like people who are fully formed fucking adult human beings whose, like, youthful exuberance and enthusiasm was as, like, white hot for the prequels as it was for any of the others, because they were born at a time where either the prequels had just come out or had been out for some years. And now those people are our peers, for better or worse, and they don't distinguish. They didn't live in a world. They didn't live in a pre-prequel world.
Right.
So they love Count Dooku. What the fuck? Like, what can you do? They do. That was their Star Wars. The same way Ewoks were our Star Wars. And in retrospect, I'm willing to say I don't necessarily think the Ewoks are that cool.
I'm down with the Ewoks.
Right. Fine. And that's all fine. I'm going a very long way around saying the only reason I even bring up the Matrix comparison is because I think my and when I say generation, I mean, because I more or less think you and I are the same generation, but like very specifically speaking, my couple of years, my 3 or 4 years generation, just happened to fall in a space where like we were simultaneously impressed with and disappointed by giant media. The crest of the indie movie sort of movement that started in the early 90s and Quentin Tarantino and all that shit, it fucking, that wave hit the high water mark in the late 90s and then begat the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Which I would argue empirically are a lesser impressive. It's just not as artistically whatever.
Right.
And I'm just saying maybe that is what's contributing to my attitude about the prequels and about Star Wars in general and about what it makes people do and what it makes people say and how I can't relate.
Well, I think that's a good transition because something I was thinking about is like what recently compares to Star Wars? And there's not much, like I think I would argue, and thank you to my wife for this, I think the Harry Potter movie series is pretty strong. They like create this whole like world of kind of just like Star Wars. I mean,
and I think there are people who would say Lord of the Rings has a similar provenance.
The Lord of the Rings movies, I can say this from very recent experience. I put on Return of the King 3 days ago. Those movies are tough, man. I don't
even know. I believe you.
I want them to be good. Like the war scenes are so fucking awesome, and like in that third one, the CGI is great. There's like these giant elephants that like they're giant elephants and they have spikes on their giant fucking tusks, and they like swing and like clear half of a fucking army.
Sure.
It's the coolest fucking idea, and it looks so cool. But everything in between is so boring. And I'm not, man, I hate this part about me, but I'm not like a super big reader, so I didn't read those books.
Shock, guys. The droves of fans of Buzzin' Cousins.
Let us speak into our 3 iPhones right now.
Not big readers. Think of that.
Those movies are boring at the end of the day. I went to see The Hobbit with a good friend of ours that is probably going to watch this, and he's going to remember this. I fell asleep before the movie started, and I woke up when he was like, yo, dude, it's over. Like, I never woke up.
I'm surprised you didn't buy it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
No, The thing is, here's the thing.
Wait, no.
I don't think the Star Wars movies are boring. I don't think Jedi comes even fucking close to the first two in terms of quality. But I'm never bored. Never bored.
You've got the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I guess people give a shit about Twilight. Never seen a half a second about...
There goes any legitimacy we ever hope to have.
Yo, hashtag Twilight. These are movies that are made on a giant scale, and they're turned around pretty quickly. And what was done with Star Wars, when it was done with Star Wars, was fucking amazing. Like, and it's crazy because I didn't even experience it. So this is like almost to your point. Like, at one point I watched Star Wars for the first time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But I had seen shit that was way more advanced than it. But when I saw...
Very good point.
When I saw the Star Destroyer like fly overhead and shoot lasers at Princess Leia's escape pod or whatever that was, I was just like, what the fuck is this?
You're right.
And how can I like inject it to my veins?
Okay.
And I still do.
Okay.
It's crazy because I don't disagree with you. Like, we're at a point where it's just like, all right, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. But there's that feeling of like, yes, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. Why not? Like, if we're going to do fucking Wolverine 17 times, give me 5 Star Wars right now. Disney, fuck you.
Oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about Disney.
I know.
I really want to talk about Disney. This is going to sound hilariously contradictory to probably everything I've said so far in this episode. I love Disneyland. When I lived in California, I had an annual pass. I went like 38 times in a year once. I love it. I like that it seems approachable. It's like it's big, but it's, you know, you feel like you can do it. You go in the gate and like you look at the map and you see where you're going to go, and if you go a lot, you get to know the lay of the land and how to go and where to go, and it becomes precious to you the same way a series of movies might, or an album, or a video game that you don't want people fucking with. And Disney, they buy everything you love, and then they tear down part of Disneyland so that they can build it back up again so that it looks like you're walking through Naboo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. That thing exists here and here.
Right, because it
Don't
won't
tear
be
down.
that.
It won't be that.
It's not going to be that.
It'll be a million people fatter than me buying burgers. And I'm bummed. I'm bummed that you cut out a piece of my park that I love and tore it down so that you could make it a place where more and more and more and more people will pretend to be in this world that we already all pretended to be in anyway. And that is a microcosm, for me, for the whole Star Wars experience. It's just like, you're cutting into the things I actually love to give me more product. And I'm good with the product I have.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to something we talk about often with things, which is like, too many humans in a good thing equals not a good thing.
That's a really good way to put it. There's two kinds of people. Those who believe Star Wars is sacred, and therefore the most Star Wars you can have is the best. And those who believe Star Wars is sacred, so don't fucking touch it, because it's dumb. Like, it's the sacred thing. And just like any sacred thing, honestly. Like, just like any... I'm not even gonna go there, but just like any sacred thing.
Beatles.
I was gonna say Jesus, but just like any sacred thing, you're gonna have your people who are zealous to keep it the canon, the quiet, tiny, the thing we know it to be, and you're gonna have your people that are like, no, shout it from the mountain, go walk up the mountain and shout it, and make as many people and as many versions of the thing. It doesn't matter because we love it so much it needs to be everywhere in every way. Those people find themselves at odds, but probably shouldn't be, because they both love the thing. They just love it in hilariously different ways. One loves it in a way that wants it to be this precious, tiny, kept
Right.
thing. And the other loves it in a way that they want it to be, you know... They say, like, it's Homer, you know, it's the writers of the Bible, and Shakespeare and George Lucas. And I don't necessarily disagree, even though I think George Lucas got lucky with this group of stories, but they are great. This story is great and true, and it will last the test of time.
He took these very common archetypes, these very common stories that have been told time and time again, and he put them in outer space. He put them in a place that maybe they've been told there before, but not ever like this. So he turned the movie theater into like a human brain, you know, like you went you went to the movie theater and you were gone, you know, like you went to outer space, you were with these people on these ships. They weren't aliens, they were normal humans, so you feel like you could be Luke Skywalker.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Walker. Sky.
Blue
Water.
Sky. Fuck. It's good, you guys. It's not as good as Holt was better.
And I think that was huge for this. What's American Graffiti?
Yeah.
I've
never seen it.
I've never seen it either. But Francis Ford Coppola is just like raving about George Lucas and almost ripping him at one point. It was like Star Wars.
Well, like simultaneously.
Yeah, he says Star Wars is the worst thing that ever happened to George Lucas because he stopped making films.
He says the world is worse off for the fact that we'll never see the art this man could create because what made him famous is.
And I tend to believe that because if you look what he got caught up, like what he got himself caught up in, and like I'm going back to the merchandising, like he ran that shit and he fucking did it like masterfully. Mm-hmm. Like the whole story behind Kenner Toys and how they sign this toy deal that they end up like literally changing the way toys are made with the Star Wars films. Like that was how I got into Star Wars, was like discovering my older brother's Star Wars toys and being like, what is this? This is crazy. It's weird and it's disgusting to a lot of people, and I understand why it's like kind of disgusting to a lot of people. You know, like he took this thing and he was like, I'm gonna fucking destroy your children's brains with this, you know, like, and he did it. Yeah. And like he's a quadrillionaire at this point, I'm sure. To the toys' credit, I think they did a lot for like creating something for kids. But
like, why are we even fucking talking about this? Why are we even talking about this? Why is the internet talking about this? Why is it important? Why do people care if I see Rogue One or not? Why do I care that I don't? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like
it's all really fascinating, and I think the short answer to your question of like, where is the world with Star Wars? Why are we talking about it? Why is the internet talking about it? And I think it's because the fact that you and I have sat here for an hour and 10 minutes, and we have totally differing opinions, but we both like sort of love it and sort of agree on things that we hate about it. You hate things that I love about it. I love things that you hate about it. Like,
you said the same thing twice.
I hate things that you love about it. I love things that you hate about it. I think you could probably group together some Star Wars people that would just all love it. You know what I mean? Like, love the shit out of it.
I think it's healthy to have a conversation about what could be improved and what is a goddamn shame. I think it's healthy to talk about what is a goddamn shame.
Yeah, but it's healthy like for those people probably in a way to say, no, man, it's not a goddamn shame.
I promise
Princess
you it's
Leia's bun
I promise you it's not healthy. It's always healthy to say what is a goddamn shame. What can we do better? What can we want more? I think where we are as a humanity with Star Wars is this hilarious microcosm for like where we are in society at large. There's like this weird punk rock populism that's like, fuck you for saying it's not good, it is good, and everybody's on board. It's the opposite of what happened in the 70s and early 80s, where people were like, the thing that everyone loves is bad. Like anarchistic populist punk rock, like majority right now. And I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Like, I understand that the pendulum has to swing away from the hipsters. The pendulum has to swing away from the people who don't like a thing because they weren't the first to discover it, or don't like a thing because everyone else likes it, which I recognize I fully fall into that category sometimes. But, like, the opposite is, in my opinion, a worse fate. Like, if we just adamantly support a thing because a few loud people say it's bad, we end up with some shit. And I feel like we're ending up with some shit.
But I don't think the Star Wars movies fall in that. I think Episode 7 is a good movie.
It's fun. I agree.
Like, I have a hard time going to it bat for Rogue One right now because I saw it once. And I fucking popped a boner at the end of the movie, which is the beginning of A New Hope.
Right.
And it just was exciting for me to see that.
It's all so shitty and manipulative. You're making me so sad right now. They showed you a thing you've already seen and you got excited.
I loved it.
Fuck! That makes me so sad. But do you realize...
This is Buzzin.
It's Return of the Jedi, where they're in Jabba's palace.
And she, like, jumps out.
Yeah, and she has like a snout with lips on the end. Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?